for me. Yeah, you gotta hit the gavel.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, we're ready for tonight's meeting, August 4th, for the Planning Commission. Just so everybody in the public knows that we are recommending committee to the City Council. Nothing really gets decided here, and it just gets moved on to the City Council with our recommendations. Tonight, we'll have presentation from the staff, and then the commissioners here, we will ask questions of the staff or even the applicant, and then we'll open it up to public hearing. At that time, for those that want to come up and have questions or make comments, you just come up to the podium, state your name and your address, and then you can ask the questions. After the public hearing is done, we'll come back here for some more discussions, and then we'll go through a motion. So with that, number 2, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion or any discussion? Do I have approval of the agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, approval of the minutes.
For the minutes?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It carries. Approval of the minutes for July 7th, 2025. Well, the approval of the minutes, yes. All right, public hearing. Harry.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Did it get, is it transferred? Okay. Sorry about that, technical difficulties. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Planning Commissioners. So the first item in front of you is submitted by Rice County. It's for comprehensive plan amendment, zoning map amendment, preliminary plat, and final plat. The location is between 4th Street Northeast, 2nd Avenue Northwest, 3rd Street Northwest, and 1st Avenue Northwest. It's for a property that's located here. It's just north of where the downtown jail is for Rice County, and next to a few adjacent offices, one of them being the Soil and Water Conservation District, the other one being Rice County Friendship House. Here are the properties that are sort of under review. And then the zoning map for the properties. So most of the properties currently PI or public institutional. The exception are the 2 properties, the offices that are in the bottom right, the southeast. Those are zoned CBD for the Central Business District or the Downtown Zoning District. The comprehensive plan is to change the land use designation for some of the property from institutional to downtown. The rezoning would do the same to change from PI to Central Business District or CBD. And then the plat reconfigures those existing 12 lots into 5 lots. And here's what that would look like. The institutional is this blue color. That's where PI or public institutional would be. And then downtown is this pinkish color, and that'll end up being on our comprehensive map designated as institutional and zoned Central Business District. And then here's the new lot layout. So lot 1 is the intent for that lot is to eventually be a commercial property. So, some sort of office, maybe even a commercial retail use. Lot 2, I think in the future is intended to be some sort of parking lot. We're currently in talks with the county in order to take over that potential property and put a parking lot on it. Lot 3 would be the existing jail and sheriff's office, and then lot 4 would be for one of those office buildings that were mentioned earlier, and then 5 would be for the other office building, southeast corner. So the comprehensive plan amendment, so staff supports that change to go from institutional to downtown. It's in a downtown adjacent location. For the rezoning, we do believe that Central Business District is compatible with the adjacent PI and with the properties that are across the streets from this location. For the plats, they do meet criteria for approval, and so no parkland dedication is requested due to previous development on these properties. If you recall, back in, I think it was, might have been 2022, 2023, that there were a bunch of buildings that were previously on these properties that the county took down. We're counting that as towards their parkland dedication, and so no parkland dedication is required. In summary, the request meets zoning and subdivision requirements. So we're recommending that you forward all of the associated resolutions and the one ordinance that are in front of you to City Council.
Great, discussion. Questions? All right, we'll open up public hearing. Anybody like to come up and ask questions? Well, no one is coming up from the public, so we'll go ahead and close public hearing.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2025 to approve a comprehensive plan amendment to guide certain property at the corner of 4th Street Northwest and 2nd Avenue Northwest.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. That carries. Number 2.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2025 to rezone the property at the corner of 4th Street Northwest and 2nd Avenue Northwest to Central Business District.
Second?
I'll second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'll make a motion.
Going quick.
Letting us carry the weight.
Giving you gentlemen the opportunity to do that, no?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary and final plats for Henry M. Bryce.
Second.
All right. Ed has the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, resolution B.
B.
Oh, item B on the agenda.
Yeah, item B, thank you. I'm still a little nervous up here.
New topic. It was there once.
Takes so long. Sorry.
Item 3B, Resolution 2025, containers at 1512 30th Street Northwest. Applicant Michelle Keller of Living Green Farms is here with us. Fully occupied by Living Green Farms. So as time has passed, that part of the equipment left the building, and what has happened is it's temporarily stored within storage containers left on the property. Now there's a new proposal. There's another cannabis dispensary and growing facility to re-energize that building and fully occupy it. But while we're in the midst of that proposal, we're hoping to exit the equipment somehow from the site. So we would like you to for a period of 2 years, with knowledge that the comp plan is to utilize the property in a reasonable manner. use is supported by the zoning, and the use permit meets the criteria of the UDO. So our recommendations we are hoping you would support is to recommend the Planning Commission forward the interim use permit for 2 years based on
We have any questions for staff?
In that picture, there was a lot of,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Mr. Chairman, I need to let you know that I have previously met Michelle Keller heard a little bit about the project before we discovered that it was in Faribault. So I want you to know we ceased the discussion and really didn't have much, but I needed to disclose that I've had that information. Sorry to interrupt you.
one comment, in the picture, there's a lot of garbage around those trailers. Does that get picked up as part of this?
Yes, in the resolution that was accompanied your packet, the conditions of approval is that all of the materials that are currently stored outside will be contained inside of them or taken outside. That's part of the approval.
Any additional questions? All right, we'll open up the public comments. If anybody has any comments or questions, please come forward to the mic. We'll close the public comment portion and bring it back here. And do we have any discussion questions?
If I could ask, so I'm understanding the licensure for the cannabis THC's not been obtained yet. It's in process.
So thank you for that question. So just to be clear, this is an interim use permit specifically for the site and the containers. While they have aspirations of the future
Just make sure I heard you clear. This container is strictly for equipment use?
Yes.
Any other questions for discussion?
This is a standard use
Exemption for construction trailers in commercial properties. They are on site for 2 years. It's the expiration of their presence beyond 2 years, which brings it.
Any additional questions? Have a motion.
Approve the interim use permit?
I'll second it.
Got the second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item C.
Mr. Chair, just give me a second while we switch computers.
Okay, I'll be taking over as chairman for just this item C resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the item in front of you all is it's for Hofmeister. It's a comprehensive plan amendment, a zoning map amendment, a preliminary plat, and a final plat. The applicant for this project is Steve Underdahl on behalf of Ann Hofmeister. It's for a location on the south side of Frederickson Drive between Airport Drive and Hanson Court. Its location is here, kind of near the Harley Davidson dealership out on the other side of I-35 near the airport. And then here is the property itself. So it's this triangle-shaped lot that's outlined in yellow. Property is currently zone C2, and you'll notice that it abuts this residential neighborhood that's along Hanson Court as it turns into Hanson Drive out there by Park Village. The comprehensive plan requests us to change the land use map designation of the western portion to commercial, residential, and mixed use. The rezoning is to change that western portion of the property to R3, which would be medium density residential. And then the plat would be to divide the properties or the property into 3 lots. So where the property would change in terms of land designation and zoning is on this western side here on the left-hand most side. So that orange section would become commercial residential mixed use, and it would become R3. The intent from the property owner, as we know right now, is that they want to actually build their personal home on this lot, which is why they want to rezone it to residential. They're rezoning it to the same residential zoning district of the homes that are along Hanson Court or Hanson Avenue. On the red, the portion of the property on the to the center and to the right hand side to the east, that would stay that commercial land use designation for our comprehensive plan and stay C2 highway commercial. And then here's the new lot layout. So this lot 1 where the applicant intends to put their home would be on this westernmost, and then lot 2, I believe they intend to create some sort of commercial storage building in order to help with the nearby Harley-Davidson dealership. And then lot 3 would be open for development, just like the current lot is. For the comprehensive plan, staff does support that change from commercial to commercial residential mixed use for that western part of the subject property. It's still consistent with both the commercial land uses that are intended for nearby, as well as the residential land uses that are existing nearby. R3 is compatible with the adjoining residential subdivision as it's the same zoning district, as well as the other land uses nearby and their zoning districts. For the plats do meet criteria for approval, and no park line dedication is requested for this plat, as the previous plats, Hoffmeister 3rd edition and the previous editions, satisfied that requirement. So in summary, the projects do meet zoning and subdivision requirements. So we are recommending that you forward the resolutions to City Council recommending approval, as well as the one ordinance. The resolutions would be to change the comp plan and to approve the plats, and then the ordinance would be to approve the R3.
Any questions for staff?
R3, is that single-family residential? It's multifamily, right?
So R3 is medium density residential. So it's the same zoning district as the homes that are along Hanson Court and Hanson Ave.
So I'm just curious why if it's a single-family residential, why is it?
Yeah, so the whole reasoning behind that is because those adjacent properties are zoned R3.
Just mention it?
Yeah, it's just using the same zoning district as what's nearby to be consistent with those adjacent properties.
Any further questions for staff? I have one question is, if this is single-family dwelling that's going to be on here, is there any drawings to where the entrance to the property would come from to access the structure?
We were able to look at some early conceptual drawings for it, but we don't have anything that's set in stone yet. I believe the applicant is still working on that final layout. The other part that really limits these properties is that they have a very small amount of impervious surface that they can even use across even just the larger triangle. So they're really trying to be efficient with exactly how much impervious surface the home will take up, the storage building, and then what they think eventually might go on that smaller triangle lot. So they're very heavily regulated by that. Any amount that they would have to go over, they would have to do some additional stormwater management. And as far as I understand, the applicant is not interested in doing that. But to answer your question, no, they don't know yet. But they are very limited, and so they're changing their plans to try to make it work.
Thank you. Any further questions before we open up the public hearing?
Just for clarification purposes, with a lot size that small, how many units,
Sure, that's a great question. I can do a little bit of research and then come back if that's appropriate. That's okay? Okay.
Any further questions? All right, we'll open up to public hearing. Anyone that wants to make a comment, please come up to the podium and state your name and address, and love to take your input. You got to come up to the podium, sir.
Thank you. My name is Arnold Gillen, and my address is 2711 Hanson Avenue. Our property adjoins the backside of the current proposal here on the triangle. Can you tell me first off,
Trying to do some
oh, okay,
research at the same
okay.
time, I'm sorry.
That's fine. The property that would be the longest, I think it was parcel 1, the longest piece. How wide that piece is?
I can pull that up here. Mr. Chair, if it's okay that I answer questions as we get them, that's fine. Mr. Chair, I don't have the exact measurement, but we're looking at somewhere probably around 250, maybe 200 feet street frontage.
Thank you. That'd be on the north side of it, is the 250?
Yeah, along Frederickson Drive.
Thank you.
So the purpose of this is to rezone for, Hoffmeister is looking to build a home there in that side. You know, there's a tree line there between our property and hers, about half and half roughly. Do you know if that tree line is going to remain?
Mr. Chair, so the applicant has indicated so far that they really want that tree line to remain. They don't want to take out any of those trees if they can avoid it. So that's what I understand currently.
Okay. Along that line, when the tornadoes hit there several years ago, several big downed trees in a portion of that. Is there any question or any way this goes through that could be cleaned up a little bit? I know it's her property, but it kind of infringes on some of our properties too, because those big trees, some of them are dead, some of them are down. And if they come over onto our property, it's going to cause damage on our side. I'm just asking if that's any consideration to doing that.
Mr. Chair, so, generally when it comes to trees between property owners, that's typically a private property issue to be dealt with between those two property owners. We can try to talk to the property owner and their contractor as they go through the construction process about any of those trees. But generally at the end of the day, it is between two private property owners.
So the middle section is going to be used by her for storage of her
Yes, sir.
business there?
Yep, that's what was described, yes.
Okay. And the smallest triangle portion of it is just going to be out there for
Something to develop, yes, sir.
well, there's a few folks here that live along Hanson Avenue. I don't know if anybody else has any questions, but that's what I had, so thank you, appreciate
Thank you,
it.
sir.
Any further comments? This is your chance. We welcome, and if anybody's got a comment, this is the time before I close it. Seeing no movement, I'm going to close the public hearing and move it back to the commissioners for discussion.
I would like to wait
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so there are a few things to note specifically about R3 is that it is medium density, so we are not actually talking about like a full apartment building. We're talking about something where generally the limited what I would say would be the maximum would be is 8 units within one particular building. That could be attached townhomes, that could be, you know, some sort of stacked setup, but that would be 8 units. You know, the limit for the entire property would be about 31 units across 3.5-ish acres. The thing that I'm calling out here between the size of the property, the limitation on the number of units within one building, and you know, kind of how this works within our code, is that if you do have multiple buildings on one lot, at that point, you do have to go through what's called a planned unit development, or a PUD. So that actually is another public hearing, that's another set of requirements. Our code specifically does not allow multiple buildings, multiple residential buildings that are primary uses on one property. So if this did become an apartment complex, I would imagine that they would not just do 8 units and then call it quits. It's 3.5 acres. They would probably want to utilize more of the property. So at that point, it would go through as a PUD. There would be more review. There would be a full plan that would be reviewed. We're talking, it's essentially coming up with their own zoning district. So city council would be able to weigh in specifically on this plan. Public comment would definitely be taken during the public hearing
Answered that
process.
perfectly. I just wanted everyone to know what the process would be if it got bigger in the future.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, Harry, so I heard you talk about impervious surface. It's in shoreland overlay district, so they only have a limitation, or you talked about it. So talk about impervious surface a little bit more.
Yeah, so we're just talking about stormwater and stormwater
Against the
runoff.
stormwater.
So this is, you know, part of more of that side of it. It's not, like, we're not even talking about zoning regulations.
I was going to say, I didn't think I read about shoreland overlay, and so I was trying to understand the impervious, but it's part of the stormwater management.
Any further questions? You know, and do we have a elevation diagram of this property? Because before that, where this property's been before us before, there was quite an elevation change, and they were going to put in some fill. So I'm just kind of curious where this elevation change in this property is, especially the lot 1.
Sure. Mr. Chair, yeah, I can pull up what we have with beacon and contours. Is that kind of what you're
Yes.
looking for? Okay.
Yes.
Let me pull that up really quick.
It's pretty.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, MNC.
You're doing good.
I changed my settings, but I guess I didn't. So I believe the contours, I think, are either every 2 feet. So what we're looking at is actually a pretty flat property where the elevation changes maybe the most is probably here along the property line where the trees are. But generally, you know, looking pretty flat.
All right, thank you. The reason I asked for that is because it appears to me that, I'm just guessing that Frederickson Avenue would be the point of entry to that, but that could change.
Yeah, it looks like where Frederickson Drive is in the middle of the property's frontage, that looks like it's probably the highest, but not by much compared to the rest of the property.
All right, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'm be moving for
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion
Sure.
to approve Resolution 2025, a comprehensive plan amendment to guide certain property on the south side of Frederickson Drive to commercial residential mixed use.
Is there a second? There's been a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to number 2. I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve number 2, approve rezoning property.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's passed. Resolution number 3.
Make a motion to approve the preliminary
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Looking for the regular chairman, and we're moving on to D.
Yeah, I can grab the chairman.
There you go. Thank you for being so kind to me.
Right. Item D.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the last item for public hearings would be this ordinance to approve some zoning text amendments to the accessory structure requirements. This is a request by City Council to have staff and Planning Commission review, discuss, and recommend some changes to our accessory structure ordinance. This is coming from some recent variances that we've received that the city has granted, and City Council have requested that we incorporate in some way these variances so that they could be by right, and that they be potentially allowed on some larger properties that you might find in different parts of Faribault. There are a few other changes that staff has recommended and that we've reviewed at previous work sessions. Some areas where staff has had some issues administering the code, that applicants and the public have had issues trying to understand what the code is asking for. And so what we're hoping is that between the request specifically from City Council, as well as some I would say needed changes that are viewed at the staff level, viewed and requested by staff, that we would be able to bring forward a set of changes to the accessory structure ordinance that would hopefully make a whole lot more sense to people. So starting out, the changes, so the first one is to clarify what is area when reviewing principal and accessory uses and structures. So making sure that it is focusing on floor area and exempting some of the weird bits like mezzanines from being counted as floor area. We're just looking at essentially the footprint of either that floor or of the house. The second change is that there's an allowance for the city planner to waive, and I apologize, I put drave, should be driveway requirements for accessory structures that are not built for vehicular access. We've had a few issues with that where we've required somebody to build a driveway all the way to a structure that's never intended to have a vehicle inside of it. They might want to use it as like a studio or something like that. Next change would be that there's an exception for accessory structure positioning on lots if there's significant shoreland, floodplain, steep slopes, or bluffs on its backside, or if the principal structure is more than 200 feet from the right-of-way. So the accessory structure at that point could be closer to the road than the house. The next change is for property owners to have the ability to remove their garage, which we have a lot of issues currently at a code compliance level, where code compliance would require that somebody remove their garage, especially if it becomes dilapidated or not safe to use. But our ordinance requires that they have a garage, but there are a number of people that are running into potential financial issues with that requirement, and a number of people trying to just be able to use their property in a way that's safe. So this allows for that. And that would be unless they're going to remodel more than 50% of the floor area of that house, or or 50% of the assessed value of that house. So kind of two triggers that would require them at that point to bring a garage back onto the property.
Mr. Chairman, I have a clarifying question.
Go ahead, Tina.
Harry, I might not have heard you correctly, so I just want to, under the clarify area when reviewing principal and accessory uses, I thought I heard you say area floor space versus footprint or square footage. And so the footprint of a building could be different than the square footage depending on layers. So which one are you talking about?
Yeah, and I must have misspoke.
You were going so fast. I was like, okay, what did I hear? So
yeah, we had a lot of discussion about this. It should be floor area. I apologize.
So square footage as a whole
Yes.
versus, so whether it's 1, 2, 3 stories, I'm just saying, right?
Yes. Yep.
Versus the footprint. So we wanted to clarify area as the square footage of the entire home.
Yeah, and that should be how it is written within the draft ordinance as it's proposed.
Thank you.
The next set of changes, so clarification of requirements for different size accessory structures, including greenhouses. So clarifying what are, I guess, the tiers of review intensity for an accessory structure, as well as just clarifying that greenhouses actually can be different looking than the house, which has historically been an issue. Clarifying what counts as a membrane covered structure and how that differs from carports. That's more of a code compliance thing, but we've had a number of issues with people confused on this section of the code, so this hopefully clarifies it for them. Another clarification regarding area when we're reviewing attached accessory structures and uses. So again, making sure that we're reviewing it based off of floor area, and that there is an exemption for larger lots to allow a attached accessory structure or use to be larger than the home. And then the very last brief change that I want to go over is the removal of the restrictions on wall height for accessory structures. The two largest changes that are probably of most interest to Plan Commission, members of the public that are here, and anyone that might be at home would be these two tables that I'll show. This first table is showing just detached accessory structure requirements sort of summarized for all residential districts, and it has a column there for 1 or 2 family residential uses, one for multifamily, and then one for non-residential uses. So we've talked about this a little bit as a part of our work sessions, but the number of structures has increased, the amount of floor area for accessory structures has increased, the maximum height for some of this has increased as well, and making sure that the side, rear, and between structure setbacks are still appropriate. So, there is an exception there when we're talking about ADUs. ADUs end up being a different part of our ordinance, but just making sure that it's sort of consistent across our ordinance that, yes, you could have a second story ADU, and that would allow you to go up to 2 stories. And then there's some clarification in here regarding when you have one accessory structure, as soon as you're at 1,000 square feet or more, you may have additional building code requirements that jump in as a part of being able to just build that accessory structure. So at that point, we end up deferring a little bit to building code, but we're essentially prompting people or warning people ahead of time, hey, there might be additional requirements if you go this route. And then the second table, which is added to the ordinance, would be for detached accessory structure allowances for large single-family lots. And so this applies when we start talking about lots of 2 acres, lots of 5 acres. Those are kind of the 2 different thresholds. And so, very similar things. The number of structures goes up when we start talking about properties that are 5 acres or more, the amount of combined size, the amount of combined floor area for these structures is, it goes up from there. And then the maximum height also does increase for these structures. Because these structures can potentially be larger, there are larger setbacks assigned to accessory structures that get to this point. And then, again, there's a note in here about, accessory structures, even if we're talking about somebody's single-family home and, it's not like a barn or anything, they just want a big garage for, a bunch of ATVs and a boat or two or whatever, you are still having to abide by building code, and so that 1,000 square foot limitation, either as a module, as a part of a larger structure, or when you're just exceeding that 1,000 square feet, that still applies.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Steve.
Question on this, on the rear of the structure, you got limited to 15 feet. If you go along the sides and you're 15 feet, and if you have a roof and the maximum height of the building is 20 feet, how does that work? Because the peak of your roof is going to be 20 foot at the rear of the building.
Sure. Commissioner White, when you're looking at side and rear, are you thinking that those are not setbacks, that those are talking about
Oh,
wall
I'm
height?
sorry, setbacks, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. I just want to be sure where you're coming from.
I was looking at height and I just went down. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. We initially did have wall height, but we did talk, planning commission, in a previous work session about potentially removing that. So that is a part of the request in front of you. So from the comp plan's perspective, it allows residential property owners to expand and invest in their properties and their accessory structures with limits still. So it does balance what we believe is property rights with community interests, in order to make sure that accessory structures don't dominate a property. And if you do have very large accessory structures, okay, well, just make sure that you have a large lot, and that way the impact is lessened upon adjacent property owners. So from the zoning side, it does remove or minimize some barriers for property owners, but provides appropriate limits for those structures. So from a zoning perspective, from a comprehensive plan perspective, we do feel like it meets both. So we are recommending that you forward this ordinance to City Council, recommending approval. And I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you, Harry. Any questions for city staff?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
That's okay, Tina. All
You're
right.
excited, we like that. Pardon? You're excited, we like that.
Just so everybody knows here, we've had a lot of discussion on this. That's why we're kind of excited to finally.
I thought we'd already done the public hearing, my apologies.
I'll open it up for a public hearing. Would anybody like to come forward? All right, I'll go ahead and close public hearing. And any discussion questions?
Mr. Chairman, may I make a motion, please?
We have a motion.
To approve ordinance approving a zoning text amendment to accessory structure requirements.
We have a second. Sam? Any more discussion questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same, any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, item 4, request to be heard.
Mr. Chair, we currently do not have any requests to be heard tonight.
Ending. Item number 5, resolution for finding and fact records on Archer data centers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, just for clarification for everyone here tonight, so this is a public meeting to review this item. The chair does have the ability to open up for public comment, but again, just to clarify for everyone, this is just a public meeting about this. And again, this item is, or this body is a recommending body to City Council. If there are members of the public that are interested in potentially asking questions, there is another chance at City Council in order to ask these questions.
And that will be next Tuesday, correct?
That is correct. Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
With that, I am going to hand it over to our consultant that reviewed the EAW that was submitted by Archer Data Centers on our behalf.
Thank you. My name is Allison Harwood. I am with WSB, and I worked with the city to review the EAW for Archer Data Centers and bring it through the process. And so I'm just going to go through a few acronyms or terms that you might hear. It's been a little while since you've been through an environmental review. So EQB is the Environmental Quality Board, and they're the state in they're the body that oversees the state's environmental review program, though implementation of the rules themselves is passed down to local governments or responsible government units. EAWs, or environmental assessment worksheets, are a type of state environmental review that are typically completed for individual projects that have defined concept plans that exceed some sort of designated threshold that the EQB and state statutes set. An EIS, or an environmental impact statement, is another type of environmental review. It's a more rigorous type of environmental review that is typically reserved for projects that have the potential for significant environmental impacts. So some examples of projects that have gone through EIS processes include things like the Viking Stadium, interstate pipelines, or large mineral mining processes. And then finally, the term significant in the context of this review means that it cannot be undone or addressed through other formal review or permitting processes. So the EAW, or again, Environmental Assessment Worksheet, is a state environmental review document. It's made up of about a standard 20 questions about basic project analysis. And the purpose of it is to determine whether or not significant environmental impacts will exist as a result of the proposed project. And if significant environmental impacts do exist, the EIS process can be ordered. Or if they don't exist, if they can be mitigated or minimized through other processes, then the EIS is not necessary. They can also be used to identify mitigation measures for potential impacts, inform future permitting, planning, and zoning decisions. And an important thing to note is that an EAW, or any environmental review process, does not approve or deny a project. It again is really simply a document. So state statute, more specifically Minnesota Rule 4410, requires environmental review for various types of development projects based on the type of development and the density. For Archer Data Center, it specifically exceeded subpart 14, which is for industrial, commercial, and there are other subparts related to other types of development, like residential or water appropriations, things like that, that also may require environmental review. But for this project specifically, it was industrial, commercial, and for that particular subpart, the city is the responsible government unit and the owner of the document, and then responsible for ensuring the completeness and accuracy of that document. The mitigation measures, if there are any identified by the document, may be the responsibility of either the developer or the city as determined at the time of plan review. So in general, the EAW process consists of about 4 steps. So the first step is that the responsible government unit identifies that a mandatory EAW is necessary. Again, for this particular project, it was the industrial subpart that was exceeded. After that, the RGU prepares or reviews an EAW. In this case, the project proposer prepared it, the city reviewed it and determined for it to be complete. And then that document is sent out for a 30-day public comment period. And for this project, that comment period occurred between May 20th and June 20th of 2025. Following the close of the public comment period, the RGU then reviews the comments, prepares responses, and then also prepares what's called a findings of fact document. And then finally, the RGU makes a decision on whether or not the project requires additional review through that environmental impact statement. And that is either through a positive declaration, meaning they do require an EIS, or a negative declaration, meaning that the project does not require an EIS. Now, there are several topics that are covered in the EAW. They range from everything from land use and water resources to wildlife habitat to utilities and the transportation network. And during EAW development, there may be various studies and reviews, such as traffic studies, that help identify the potential for impact. EAW might also identify the need for additional or future studies that can be carried out then by the developers during preliminary and final design of the project. So for Archer Data Center, this project covered approximately 84 acres, and the proposal includes up to 500,000 square feet of data center buildings, which would include up to 6 one-story buildings, parking lots, utilities, stormwater management ponds, a substation, and various landscape improvements. The construction would be expected to last approximately 3 years. On these next few slides, I'm going to cover not all of the topics that are covered by an EIS in detail, because those are included in your packet. I will cover some of the resource topics that the city received comments on. And so the proposed development, as you can see from this slide, which shows the general cover types on the site, and then their acreages before and after the proposed project, you can see that the proposed development would primarily impact cropland, and impacts to some of the other resources such as wetlands, woodlands, and then the increase in impervious would be regulated by multiple governmental agencies. In terms of water resources, that covers a variety of water resource categories such as wastewater, water use, stormwater, and wetlands. Both wastewater and water demand would depend on the type of cooling technology that would be used for the project, which has not been determined yet. Depending on that technology, wastewater could be minimal or close to nothing, or they could require wastewater to be discharged from the site. In terms of wastewater, if there was wastewater to be discharged from the site, as again to be determined through preliminary and final design, then additional water quality and quantity data would be submitted to ensure that there would be no adverse impact to the wastewater systems. For water use, the demand again would depend on what type of cooling technology would be used for that data center, and the project is anticipated to utilize the city water services. As noted, there would be an increase in impervious surface, and therefore the project would be required to meet stormwater management rules per both city and state standards. And then there were also some wetland impacts proposed, which would need to be permitted and mitigated through both state and federal processes. In terms of wildlife habitat, there were proposed to be impacts to certain types of habitat, such as forested areas and wetlands, and those impacts would be minimized to the extent feasible, and if needed, there would be coordination with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and DNR to further ensure that those impacts are minimized. Proposed revegetation of areas would include native and non-invasive species, which would promote habitat availability to the wildlife that would return to the area. The air quality analysis will be completed during final design when they have a concept plan that includes the locations of things like the backup generators. And depending on that analysis, the project could require some additional permits through the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency for air quality, and could also include additional need for environmental review. But again, that will depend on the results and outcomes of that air quality analysis. The project is anticipated to generate some noise by a variety of means, both through construction as well as through traffic, the use of backup generators, and then the ventilation systems themselves. And again, there will be additional noise study that will occur during final design once more detailed project plans are available. And based on the results of that study, there would be noise attenuation measures designed to make sure that both state and local noise standards are met. The project would also generate traffic, but mitigation measures such as stop controls, turn lanes, and traffic signals at various intersections and entry points would mitigate for any impacts to the traffic network. And then the project will involve quite a bit of earthwork, about 93,000 cubic yards of earthwork across the 84 acres, which would require an NPDES construction stormwater permit from the MPCA, and then also require the use of erosion control best management practices to minimize the potential for stormwater runoff from the site. So in summary, the EAW was determined to be complete on May 14th, was then available for the 30-day public comment period between May 20th and June 20th. During that time, comments were received from 9 members of the public and 2 governmental agencies, which included the Pollution Control Agency and the DNR. The comments focused primarily on water resources, wildlife and habitat, air quality, and noise. And an extension on the EIS need decision was ordered to ensure sufficient time for the proposer in the city to address those comments. So based on the review of the EAW and the comments, the city has determined and found that the future reviews and approvals will be needed from a variety of agencies, including the Corps of Engineers, the Pollution Control Agency, Department of Natural Resources, Department of Health, Rice County, and the city. And through coordination of those permits and approvals, the city feels that impacts will be minimized and mitigated appropriately. City staff further determined that information available in the EAW and the response to comments has generated information adequate to determine the potential for impact, that the cumulative impacts from this project as well as surrounding projects can be anticipated and controlled, that the government reviews and approvals mentioned will ensure again that the project is designed and implemented to minimize the potential for impact, and that those impacts that can be anticipated can be controlled based on the environmental review as well as similar experience on similar projects. And that because of that, significant environmental impacts are not expected as a result of this project, and therefore EIS is not necessary. And I'm happy to take any questions on the EAW process. One of the
Any questions for staff or for the consultant? Go ahead, Steve.
Just to get, you said the EIS is not needed, but given the fact that the plans have not been finalized for the backup generators, would that trigger the Pollution Control Agency to approve any emissions off of those backup generators?
So that would be dependent on the results of that air quality analysis that I mentioned. And so depending on that air quality analysis, there could be a need for additional environmental review if it exceeds thresholds that the PCA sets. And if that is the case, then the PCA would initiate additional review.
Questions? Now, we will not be opening up to public discussion at this time, as Harry mentioned. So again, if you have any questions, you can bring those up at the city council. Any items for discussion?
I thought staff and consultant did a very good job of putting it all together and reviewing it. Thank you for your succinct summary of it. It was a lot of pages to read through, and appreciate that you said what I mean. My mind was thinking the same, so I'm happy with that.
I'm really happy that we're really small we're not the final say in whether or not this goes through or not. There's a lot of other steps, there's a lot of other implications that can trigger the reviews needed, and we're just the first baby step in a long list of steps. I appreciate that.
Questions? I want to say thank you so much for being so easy to work with our city staff. I know our city staff has put a lot of time in with y'all, and this is a wonderful presentation.
I'll make a motion to approve the findings of fact and record of decision for Archer Decanters, EAW, and negative declaration of meeting and EIS.
We have our second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Yeas have it. Routine business.
Same thing.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, routine business.
Mr. Chair, we do not have any routine business tonight.
Wonderful. Any board and commission updates or reports?
Mr. Chair, at this time, we don't have any updates. I imagine probably at the next planning commission meeting, once council's had first stab at a few of these ordinances, I'll have more to report. And ordinances and resolutions, I'll have more to report.
All right. Do we have an motion for adjournment?
Move.
Ed's got the second. All in favor, say aye.